what he can be too in the future for them.
Cousins' sharpest game by far.
Oh,
22
by far
of
and away,
29,
yes.
333 yards, 4 touchdowns, just 1 interception. And the 1 interception, like you said, that literally went through Stefon Diggs' hands.
Yep.
I don't know what happened to him on that play. Great day. Obviously, it looked like he forgot to catch a football for an instant there because his hands just like
he forgot a couple of times. I think.
Like his hands went right past each other, like as he tried to bring them together, and it went right through his hands, off his face mask, and into the hands of Andrew Sendejo. And I think that's when some Vikings fans were like, "Oh man, this is because it had a turning point feel to it, that play right there, because you had the big lead, the Eagles score, you start driving, that interception happens, and it's a former Viking who gets that interception. I saw a little bit of panic in Viking Nation on the old twitter.com when that play went down. But they, like I said before, they took that blow. They took blow after blow from this Eagles team who was trying to come back from 24-3, made a stupid decision of trying to go for the field goal, but you took every shot they had, delivered a few of your own, mostly Kirk Cousins to Stefon Diggs, and you come out with a 38-20 win. It's Viking Ventline. You can get in on the show at 651-646-8255 as we talk about this 38-20 win. Jeff is in St. Louis Park. Now he's on Score North. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, feeling pretty good after a win. Okay, 3 quick points I'd like to talk about. I was one of those people who was all for us signing Kirk Cousins. One of the main reasons was I didn't think that Case Keenum could replicate his success and that you owed it to get the best quarterback possible, even if it was expensive. Obviously, that's been challenged. My view on that has been challenged as the last season went along and this season. But this is what's kind of frustrating about Cousins is he'll have games like the Chicago game where it's like, do you even know how to play this sport? And then he'll have games like today where he looks like an elite quarterback, and his variance is just so great in terms of what his performance is. The other thing I want to say is I think you're 100% right, Ramie. This was not only was this the most satisfying win, it was the most entertaining to watch because unlike Oakland and Atlanta, when you got up big on them, they practically just threw in the
folded.
towel.
Yeah.
The Eagles fought back, and it's important to see, hey, can you take the blows from a game that kind of feels like it's spiraling towards the other team? Can you right the ship? And what they did show, and this was at least for today, they were able to do that. When it became 24-20, you thought, oh, man, like, if we give the ball back, it's going to be the Eagles will have all this momentum, but they managed to get a big touchdown drive. And then when they got it back, they got another one. So effectively putting the game away. So that was a very fun win to watch.
Jeff, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a really, I mean, even if you had no rooting interest or any interest in this game, if you're just a fan and I don't know whatever NFL market watching this game, super entertaining football game that we got to watch today. I appreciated that because he mentioned in the Atlanta game and in the Raiders game, the Vikings got up big, and I don't know if Mike Zimmer and his staff didn't see any fight in the opposing team, but they got very conservative in their play calling.
Yep.
And I mean, Kirk Cousins threw 10 passes in the opening game against Atlanta. That's as conservative as it gets when you get up big. This game, there was an urgency, even though you had a lead, because this was an Eagles team that clearly wasn't giving up and was fighting back. And I was glad that they didn't stay conservative. They didn't say, hey, we have a 24-10 lead. Let's stay conservative and pound away at the Eagles. I think part of that was that it just wasn't working. I mean, Dalvin Cook was outside of the Bears. The Eagles probably did the best job of anybody of containing Dalvin Cook and the run game as a whole. But I was glad that Stefanski and Kubiak and Cousins didn't get conservative when you had a big lead there and kept throwing haymakers at this Eagles defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that shows that they were, I think, aware of the situation that they were walking into this week. Is that, you know, you're going up against a young quarterback who's very talented and playing at a high level, and he's missing one of his explosive targets in Deshaun Jackson, but he still has Nelson Aguilar and he still has Alshon Jeffrey, two guys that can burn you if you're not careful. So I think they knew, okay, we're going up against a team that can put some points on the board, and we know that they can stop the run. we can't just rely on sitting on a lead and getting comfortable and conservative and running the clock out, because there's probably a point where they're going to get back into this game, and we're going to need our passing attack to continue to be good and productive, when we need the quarterback to not make mistakes, which Kirk Cousins really didn't do at all today. So I think they recognize, like, we're not going to be able to just sit on a lead with this team. This is too high powered of an offense to just think that we can just run the clock out by running the ball, especially when it's going to be hard to run the ball against their defense. They're one of the best run stopping defenses in the league. So it's a good job by the coaching staff to recognize that, and they took advantage of it, and they came away with a win.
And since we're talking about the game plan, we talked a lot coming into this week. I know on both Score North Live and on Mackey and Judd with Ramie, we did with Sage Rosenfeld especially, about getting the ball out quick, using the screen game to your advantage, not really giving Fletcher Cox and the rest of this front seven of the Eagles to put pressure on Kirk Cousins and move the pocket, get him on the move. And there was a lot of that today of Kirk Cousins rolling out to his left, rolling out to his right, keeping his eyes downfield, which has been an issue for him, and getting the ball to his wide receivers. Really liked what I saw from the offense today. I don't think that's a great Eagles defense. I talked about it some on Friday, that a lot of their numbers coming into this season defensively were padded by a game against the Jets where they got 10 sacks.
Mhm.
Like more than 3/4 of their sacks on the season were against a really, really awful Jets team who doesn't have much interest in playing football, and we're only in week 6 of the NFL. But for what they were up against, I really liked what I saw from the game plan, and continuing that game plan when you had a big lead and not taking your foot off the throat. Let's get in Dan in Florida. You're on Score North and Viking Ventline. What's up, Dan?
Hey guys, Kirk Cousins showed me a lot today. I was one of those guys like I'm not sure about him, but the group that I want to talk about, which if you don't talk about them in the game, it's usually a good sign, is the offensive line. I thought they played a good game today. This is the best game I've seen them play in a long time, and it's not like the Eagles have a terrible defensive line too. So, I thought the offensive line played well. When the game got close, that's what Kirk Cousins showed me a lot. He showed me that, I can still do this. I can make the throws needed. I can still keep the team ahead. When they scored over 30 points, that's when I kind of felt like they've got the Eagles right where they want, because Denver's defense do not surrender 30 plus points. I think they've done that maybe one time in the 6 years of coaching. So, but hey, I thought the offensive line played well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, offensive line looked really good today. I think
pass protection was outstanding today.
Same thing. I think the same thing can be said about the game plan helping Kirk Cousins as we can about the offensive line. You take some pressure off Garrett Bradbury and the interior of that offensive line when you get Cousins on the move and move the pocket outside of the tackle and make those guys have to chase him down. Give Bradbury and the guys on the interior there that extra second or half second of cushioning in terms of protecting Kirk Cousins back there. I think that's something that should work down the road for this Vikings team. I don't think that this is a blueprint just for the Eagles. I think that's when he's at his best, and it takes pressure off that offensive line if you can move that guy around.
But even in the plays where they were not getting him, running bootlegs and getting him in motion, even on plays where he was dropping back, I mean, you could see it on the first drive. The pass protection was outstanding on the first drive, where there was a couple times where he dropped back. There was one play where he hit Diggs like right over the middle. Diggs was running sort of I don't know, it wasn't a slant route because he sort of went out about 10 yards and then sort of cut inside, and Cousins stood there in the pocket, and he had a clean pocket, perfect time to throw, and he threw it right in there where only Diggs could catch it. That was terrific, and that was great protection. And when Cousins does get good protection, he can be really, really good. It's just, I think the question marks with Kirk Cousins has always been, okay, when things are not perfect surrounding him, can he do enough to sort of overcome those things? And historically, he's never really been able to do that. Today, he wasn't faced with a whole lot of adversity because the pass protection was really, really excellent today. And he thrived, and he was great today. He was outstanding. He didn't, like we said, the one interception that he threw, that was completely 100% on Stefon Diggs not catching that ball. I mean, Kirk Cousins made the right play. He got in a little bit of trouble. He rolled out to the right. He saw Diggs one of his best targets, wide open. He threw it to him. Diggs just jumped up and didn't catch it, and it went right into the hands of Andrew Sendejo. So Kirk Cousins was terrific today, and the offensive line giving him plenty of time was a big part of that too.
Speaking of the reputation of Kirk Cousins, his former teammate, now Eagles linebacker Zach Brown, had some things to say about Kirk Cousins coming into this one, and these are the things he had to say. Cousins, I think every defense is going to want that guy to throw the ball. For me, that's probably the weakest part of their offense is him. Everything else is good. They've got a good running game, probably one of the best in the league. They have good receivers. You just want them to pass the ball. You want Kirk Cousins to get it in his hands. I realized when I was in Washington, he was kind of careless with the ball, but at the same time, hey, you make the bed you sleep in. I was at the Redskins with him, so I know him. That's my viewpoint on him. And that's something that I said after the Bears game, Manny, which was the same thing that Tramon Williams said about Mitchell Trubisky after the Bears lost to the Packers in week 1, which was we came into this game saying, let's make Mitch play quarterback. And after seeing what the Bears did to Kirk Cousins, which is take away the run game and make Kirk Cousins play quarterback, I think coming into this week, that was sort of the formula to beat the Vikings. Today makes teams think twice about that because the Eagles contained and borderline shut down the run game, especially Dalvin Cook. Alexander Mattison actually had a much better day than Dalvin Cook. 14 carries for 63 yards for Mattison for a 4.5-yard average to Cook's 16 for 41 and a 2.6 yard average. Did have a touchdown for my fantasy team. I thank you for that, Dalvin Cook. But they took away the run game and said, go ahead and beat us, Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins beat him. That's a suspect secondary in Philadelphia. But that was the first time a team said, beat us, Kirk Cousins. And he said, okay, don't mind if I do.
Well, and a little advice for Zach Brown. I think it's a fair assessment to make about Kirk Cousins, but if you're going to say that,
cornerbacks.
well, you better make sure that Ronald Darby and Avonte Maddox, your top 2 corners, are both available to play because neither one of them played today. And I mean, Rasul Douglas, that poor kid. I mean, my goodness, and Sidney Jones was the other guy too. That was just not a group. That was just not a good group today. So if you're Zach Brown, if you're going to say that about Kirk Cousins or any quarterback and say, yeah, we're going to make him throw the ball, you might want to make sure your secondary is all squared away before you say something like that, because that was pretty bad by the Eagles secondary today.
The second touchdown by Diggs, I don't know if it was a miscommunication or if the safety just bit that hard on the play action.
I think